Hello everybody, welcome to the fourth marking period of Dr. Izad's Language Arts class. You may have noticed that all of the work for the fourth marking period, in which we will be completing Units 7 and 8, has been posted in reverse chronological order. The memoir project here is the last project for Unit 8, and if you scroll down, you'll get to this assignment entitled Syllabus and Homework, Joy Luck Club Essential Questions, which is introducing us to Unit 7. This is the unit that we are beginning for the fourth marking period, and the Joy Luck Club is the novel that we will be focusing on. The link to the text is posted right here, and the first assignment listed, which is the Homework Joy Luck Club Essential Questions, is not the first assignment that is due for this marking period. This is to be worked on periodically as we work through Unit 7, and it will require reading the novel in sections as well. Since we have 4 weeks for this unit, and because the digital text is 166 pages, I am recommending that you read 40 to 50 pages a week, which can be divided into fewer pages per day. Also, bear in mind that these are the essential questions for the units, and you are responding to them for each set of pages you are reading each week. So you're going to be responding to these same questions for every set of 40 to 50 pages that you read every single week we're doing Unit 7. Now, I just want to go over the essential questions really quickly. The first one here is asking, how do fiction and nonfiction techniques complement each other in order to create biographical or autobiographical works in whatever excerpts you read from the Joy Luck Club? So this is addressing something that we've actually addressed before when we were reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We discussed how, even though it is considered a work of nonfiction, literary elements that are typically used in fiction were used by Maya Angelou. Such techniques include metaphors, imagery, symbolism, etc. Those are fiction techniques. When it comes to nonfiction techniques, an author might use emotional appeals or different fallacies to persuade or trick the reader into agreeing with a particular point of view. Many different techniques are used in nonfiction, either to persuade, teach, instruct, explain, etc. Those are the purposes of nonfiction texts, typically. So this question is essentially asking how the author's use of fictional techniques are used for those purposes of persuading or teaching or instructing, etc. The fictional techniques can even be something as simple as development of conflict, which is something that fictional stories typically have. However, in works of nonfiction, authors can develop a conflict to emphasize a point that they want to make. One of my students, when we were reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, came to the conclusion, for instance, that Maya Angelou used the narrative technique of developing a conflict to persuade people that if they have privilege, they should use it to help others who are less fortunate. The conflict that was developed in order to persuade people of this particular point had to do with Maya's elders making negative remarks about her appearance while they applauded her brother for looking better. And because of that, he was actually able to talk back to his elders and stand up for Maya when they criticized her. The second question can be interpreted any number of ways, but you want to consider how individuals telling stories about their own past experiences describe experiences and decisions that they made that impact their worldview. For instance, in I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, there was the one excerpt where 3 girls were mocking Maya's grandmother in front of the store, and Maya wanted to take action, but she had heeded her grandmother's advice and stayed inside the store and watched the drama unfold. She saw that her grandmother was extremely polite to them, no matter how much abuse the girls doled out, and she realized that in doing so, the grandmother maintained her dignity. As such, her decision to stay inside impacted her perspective about lashing out at people that are provoking her, having realized that the only way to assert one's dominance in such a situation is to not succumb to the provocations of others by giving them the reaction they want. In this case, the little girls were trying to upset Maya's grandmother, but she maintained her composure and her polite mannerisms, so only the girls who were mocking her looked foolish. This question asks about author's authority. Authority in a text has to do with the reliability of what the author is saying with respect to the intentions of the author. For instance, in biographical works, where one is writing about the life of another person, How can you be sure the author is not trying to smear the individual or make the individual seem more important than they are? Similarly, if a person is writing an autobiography, how can you be sure facts are not being misrepresented or embellished for any particular reasons? If they are being embellished, is the author being sincere in his purpose for writing? All of these are things you want to consider. And the last question is about voice, which refers to the different techniques an author uses in telling a story. This can include metaphors, similes, and other things with respect to the structure of the text. So you want to determine why it might have been appropriate for the author to use those things. For instance, going back to Maya Angelou, her voice is characterized by her use of figurative language in describing herself in I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. One can say her comparison of her hair to black steel wool, for instance, is appropriate because it emphasizes the extent to which she struggled with her own self-image as a child. So those are some things that you want to focus on. In fact, part of Amy Tan's voice in the Joy Luck Club has to do with the introductory activity for this week, as her voice can be partly characterized by her use of parables to begin each section of her novel. It is a stylistic choice that she makes, and one that we will be analyzing throughout this unit. So let us return to this initial discussion question for the week. How does each parable reveal the topics that will be explored throughout the story? The parables can be easily found in the Table of Contents section when clicking on the digital version of the text. The names of the parables are as follows: Feathers from 1,000 Li Away, The 26 Malignant Gates, American Translation, and Queen Mother of the Western Skies. And you could locate them easily by using the Find function, that is Command and F on a Mac and Control and F on a PC. Each parable is about a page long, and the name of the parable is in bold, large print at the top of the page. When you are responding to this question, be sure to reference specific parts of the parable that are indicative of the topics that you think will be explored throughout the novel, and be sure to explain your reasoning. I'll start us off for this week, and we can easily get topics from the first couple of sentences. These first sentences of this parable describe a bird that this woman bought from Shanghai that was originally a duck, which is considered an edible delicacy. However, through sheer will alone, the duck ended up becoming a swan, and now it is too beautiful to eat. As such, I'm guessing that some topics in the story might be overcoming one's own limitations and avoiding hardship. See how I reference details in the parable to justify my claims that those will be two topics that are explored in the story here. Specifically, I cite the detail of the duck stretching out its neck to become a goose. I even discuss the significance of the bird being a duck, as ducks are often eaten, and it wants to turn into a goose to avoid that fate, and in doing so, it exceeds its limitations by far by actually becoming a swan instead of a goose. So with some concerted effort, it finds itself far from any type of danger. It is important that you put thoughts into this response and begin a dialogue with your peers or myself here in the class comments section, as we will be returning to these parables for the next two assignments, which we will explore in more detail next week. I'm asking for 3 postings per week, 1 initial post, and 2 responses to peers or myself. And be mindful of the syllabus, as it provides you with an overview as to what we will be doing each week and due dates for the assignments. Right under the weekly schedule, you will find an individual table of due dates. Keep in mind that this does not reflect the park-like assessments that I have scheduled in the weekly schedule, and they have not been posted to Google Classroom yet. That is because I have not created them yet, but when I do, they will appear on the top of the class stream. Be mindful that you will not be able to complete these assignments in one day, so do not attempt to do so. Rather, small progress should be made on assignments on a daily basis, so I can leave you feedback throughout the process. Also, be sure to pace yourself with the reading as well. So, you may feel free to get started, and we will be corresponding either through the comments or my live sessions.